Chapter 920. Notice listening to their words. Have the city lord already given the jade to Fairy Jishi? If so, it will be troublesome. Seeing Heshi frowned, Nangongyu couldn't help but reach out and press on the back of her hand, saying softly to comfort, "Don't worry, there will always be a way. It's better than getting no news. Maybe the jade is still available. What's more, even if it is taken away, as long as Sheer wants it, I will grab it for you even if I have to rob." Heshi couldn't help but smile at him, and she said in a low voice, "You're king of hell, how come you are unruly like a bandit now?" Nangongyu also smiled along. As he was about to speak, Gu Lufeng and Shun Qingchua came in suddenly. It turned out that not long after Shun Qingchua entered Yangon City, she wanted to go to a remote alley to buy some girls' accessories, but Heshi and others had to go to a crowded place to inquire about the news. So Shun Qingchua dragged Gu Lufeng to accompany her shopping. Although Gu Lufeng looked helpless, he was worried to let Shun Qingchua go to the remote alley alone. So he went with her in the end. The two only came back holding hands until now. As soon as the two entered the restaurant, everyone's ambiguous eyes couldn't help but fall on them. Bai Hu smacked his tongue and sighed. "I remember this Yangon City is not too big. It takes only a few hours to go around twice. Brother Gu and Ms. Shin just went to buy an accessory, and you guys can they come back until now? Hee, are you afraid that we would disturb your intimate moment?" What nonsense are you talking about?" Shen Qingchua blushed, and she quickly retreated a few meters away from Gu Lufeng. Gu Lufeng coughed, and his face under the mask was slightly hot. He forcibly calmed himself and said, "Brother Bai, don't talk nonsense. We came late because we found some news about Divine Soul Jade, so we went to inquire about it." Yeah. Shen Qingchua immediately echoed, then she ran to Heshi happily and handed her a piece of paper. "Sister Shiyu, look, this is what we saw on the West Market bulletin board." Heshi took the paper and took a look. It was actually a notice. The content of the notice was similar to the content discussed by the few people just downstairs. The general meaning was that the city lord's son was sick, so he was recruiting people to treat his son. If his son was cured, the city lord would give his family treasure, Divine Soul Jade, as a reward. Heshi raised her eyebrow and said, "Is this notice still posted now?" Shen Qingchua nodded repeatedly and said, "I went to inquire about it with Brother Lufeng. This notice is still posted, but almost no one bothers about it now. It seems that a very powerful person has come. Sister Shiyu, let's go. While the notice is still posted and there are still people at the registration office, we should hurry up to apply. Maybe it's not too late yet." A smile appeared on Hishi's face, and she gently patted Shen Qingchua's hand and said, "Okay, let's go now. Qingchua, thank you and Lufeng for bringing such a good news." Shen Qingchua was so happy that her face blushed after receiving a rare compliment from Heshi. She happily jumped to Gu Liufeng's side like a butterfly. However, she immediately thought of something. She bared her teeth at Bai Hu. "See? Brother Lufeng and I are not strolling around for fun. We are helping out. It's really Divine Soul Jade. What is the disease that even Divine Soul Jade is used as a reward?" Chapter 921. Can you let me follow? Bai Hu touched his chin and said with a smile, "I remember when you were in Yanjing, you still called him by the surname Gu. How come it became Brother Lufeng when you two went out together? It's so intimate." "You." This time, Shen Qingchua's face was completely red. Gu Lufeng also gave a low cough, lowered his head in embarrassment and changed the subject. "Shiyu, time is running out, let's hurry up." Heshi smiled and nodded without teasing the two people. She got up to pay the bill and left. But just after 2 steps, she found that Mo Xiaodu had followed up again. Heshi stopped her and said, "Miss Mo, what happened just now has been explained clearly, you should go home early. Don't follow us anymore." The little girl looked very young and inexperienced. It wasn't really safe for her to wander outside alone. Mo Xiaotu immediately blushed with tears. "Sister Shiyu, Little Rabbit was kicked out by Master, and he said that if I can't find the person he wanted me to find, he won't let me return. Little Rabbit is so pity and homeless. Sister Shiyu, can you let me follow you?" Before Heshi had time to say anything, Nangongyu had already said ghastly with a cold face, "No." Emo Xiao glared back at Nangong Yu without showing any weakness. I'm asking Sister Shiyu, not you. Bad guy. Nangong Yu sneered. With a tap of his finger, a lightning was cast with a crackling sound, making Emo Xiaotu backing off in horror. This lightning seemed simple, but it seemed to have built a high lightning wall that blocked Emo Xiaotu from crossing the line. Nangong Yu sneered. You want to follow Sheer? Okay, try and follow if you are capable. Emo Xiaotu was dumbfounded immediately. She hurriedly walked around on the other side of the lightning wall. Seeing that Emo Xiaotu was blocked, Nangong Yu was in a good mood. He hugged Hashi and said, "Let's go." Hashi glared at him. Nangong Yu, why are you being serious with a kid? What's more, doesn't she already know that I'm a woman? Nangong Yu smirked. Before he could speak, he suddenly heard Emo Xiaotu's shout from behind. Immediately afterward, a burst of crackling noise, a figure rushed out desperately from the lightning wall. The white and tender little girl who was originally wearing a pink gauze skirt. After the baptism of the lightning, her whole body was burnt, even her hair stood up. She looked really embarrassed and funny. Bai Hu couldn't help but laugh out loud. Emo Xiaotu flattened her mouth. Tears were trembling in her eyes as she stared at Nangong Yu angrily. I followed through. I won't be defeated by you, bad guy. I'm going to follow Sister Shiyu. However, a moment ago, she was clenching her fist with indignation. The next moment, seeing Shao Qi looking at her embarrassed look with his clear eyes, she covered her face and cried out loud. Wu, why am I so ugly? You are not allowed to look at me. You're not allowed to look at me. Riddle Rabbit is obviously very cute, Wu. At this time, even Nangong Yu was a little dumbfounded. Shao Qi tilted his head in doubt, leaned close to her, and circled her around. Then he looked at Heshi, pointed at her and said, Sister, cry? Heshi sighed. Then she released water spiritual power to clean up the burned little girl instantly. Shin Qingchua took out her new clothes and asked Emo Xiaotu to put on them. Would Little Rabbit be disappointed after knowing Shao Qi's intelligence is like a kid? Chapter 922. Kill two birds with one stone. Only when Emo Xiaotu came out with a new look and saw Shao Qi smiling at her, she smiled again. She came near to Shao Qi while spinning her skirt. Your name is Shao Qi, right? Can I call you Brother Shao Qi? Brother Shao Qi, do you think my new dress looks good? Shao Qi tilted his head, smiled at her stupidly, turned his head and continued to play with Shao Li. Emo Xiaotu was instantly discouraged, and Little Egg approached her and said, Brother Shao Qi is sick, so he can't speak. Sometimes, even we can't understand what he is talking about. Mom came to Yangon City this time to cure Shao Qi's brother. When Emo Xiaotu heard it, her eyes widened. She clenched her fist and said, Cure the disease? Then I have to help. Little Egg, you are so kind. You are willing to tell me everything. Little Egg likes to be praised the most, and he wasn't praised for his cuteness, so he immediately wailed with excitement. Emo Xiaotu was also introduced to Little Golden Dragon, Little Dumb Cow, and Shaoli. Emo Xiaotu had a bright personality, and she especially liked cute things. It didn't take long for her to get along with a few little guys. Even Ziming Yuluo allowed her to grab her vine and swung her high in the sky. In the end, she ran up to Heshi and said pitifully, Sister Shiyu, I'm very powerful and I don't eat much, so let me follow you, okay? Heshi glanced at Shao Qi thoughtfully, and she saw that he was also looking over. His clear eyes were full of happy smiles. She couldn't help being moved in her mind. She nodded. Okay, then you just follow. However, don't cause trouble, don't try to probe identity, don't expose my identity as a woman outside. Can you do it? Yes. Of course I can do it. Emo Xiaotu jumped 3 feet high in excitement, then she happily returned to Little Egg and the others. Brother Shao Qi, Little Egg, have you heard that? Sister Shiyu allowed me to stay. It's so great. I can always play with you in the future. Heshi looked at her childish back, shook her head and laughed. She turned her head and met Nangong Yu's thoughtful gaze, and she couldn't help but smile. Finally, you are done being serious with the little girl? Nangong Yu scratched the tip of her nose and snorted coldly, Isn't it Sheer's fault? How can I not watch you closely? As for this Emo Xiaotu, if she can pester Shao Qi and let Shao Qi not bother me and Heshi, it will hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Alright, I will just reluctantly let the little girl stay. Thinking of this, Nangongyu showed a satisfied smile on his face. He put his arm around Heshi's waist and said, "Walk through the corner in front, then we have reached the West Market." Sure enough, turning around the corner, Heshi quickly saw the place where the notices were posted by the city lord. It was just that, at this time some people wearing Yangon city guard costumes were tearing off the notices from the bulletin on the city wall. At the registration office, it seemed that they weren't looking for doctors anymore. Seeing this, Baihu quickly took a step forward and took out the notice brought by Shun Qingchua and said, "We are here to sign up." At the registration office were a few men in their 30s, wearing the costume of the city guard. Hearing Baihu's words, one of them immediately shook his head and said, "The registration is over. Just leave." "It's over." Baihu frowned. "The notice clearly states that it will end tomorrow, isn't it? Has the disease been cured?" Chapter 923. No longer accept registration. When the man saw Baihu asking more, he couldn't help but impatiently said, "The city lord posted a notice to find someone who can save our young city lord. Now that the person has been found, what is the need for the notice?" Seeing Baihu still looked unwilling to give up and seeing him at high cultivation, he didn't dare to offend easily. Another guard on the side walked forward and said, "Have you heard of Fairy Jishi? She is a well-spoken 6th-grade doctor from the Doctors Association and even a pill refiner mazer. She has come to Yangon City today, and she has already had a preliminary diagnosis of our young city lord. She said that she is sure to cure the disease." Since Fairy Jishi said so, why do we still need the notice? Of course, we won't accept any more registration. Do you understand now? Why is it Fairy Jishi again? Did she really cure the disease? Baihu looked behind him and looked at Heshi and Nangongyu, then frowned. "Are you so sure that Fairy Jishi can cure your young city lord's disease? It is said that your young city lord's disease has been around for more than 10 years, so long. Haven't your city lord ever hired a 6th-ranked doctor before? Have those people cured your young city lord's illness?" These guards really hesitated when they heard the words. This man is right. City lord had invited a 7th-ranked doctor and an elder from the Doctors Association, but they were still helpless with the disease. What if this Fairy Jishi really can't cure it? Impossible, that's Fairy Jishi. And Fairy Jishi herself said that she can cure young city lord's disease. If I rashly bring people over, if I annoy Fairy Jishi, how can I deal with it? Thinking of this, the guard immediately showed a contemptuous expression. He looked up and down Baihu and said, "Are you going to treat our young city lord's disease? Even if Fairy Jishi can't cure it, is it that you are better than Fairy Jishi?" Baihu was also a little annoyed for a while. He coldly slapped the notice on the table and crossed his arms. "It is not me who is going to treat the disease, it is my young master. My young master's medical skills are unparalleled in this world. We are giving you face to cure your young city lord. You said Fairy Jishi is great, but what if she can't cure your young city lord and your master got to know that you reject the one who can truly treat his son? Can you shoulder the responsibilities?" The guard was anxious hearing that, then he took a look at them. They were really handsome men and pretty women, but none of them looked like an experienced doctor. He suddenly sneered, "I have seen a lot of big talkers in the past few days, and each of them had boasted about their godly medical skills. But when they saw our young city lord, they were helpless and sneaked away like a turtle. You said that your young master is even greater than Fairy Jishi's medical skills. Then tell me, what rank is your young master? What level is he as a pill refiner?" The atmosphere was tense for a while. Baihu was about to get angry when he suddenly heard an old voice on the side saying solemnly, "What's the matter? Didn't I ask you to quietly put away the notice?" In the cabin behind the registration point, a middle man with a white face, long white hair and no beard walked out slowly. When everyone saw this person, they immediately showed a respectful look. Chapter 924. No rank. The guards even bowed to him nervously. "Master Yuehua, why are you here?" "Don't worry, it's just a small matter. We will take care of it." This Master Yuehua was a 4th-ranked doctor and a good friend of Yangon City's lord. This time, he came to screen the doctors who applied for the recruitment notice. After all, many of the doctors who came to apply for the recruitment were just trying their luck. If they were asked to prescribe any medicine for the city lord's son, then the city lord's son might not be able to survive until today. His rank in doctor and pill refiner of this person was not high in rank, but his prestige in the Tsangming kingdom, especially in Yangon City, was extremely high. Shen Qingchua secretly said to Heshi, "Sister Shiyu, I heard from my grandfather that this Master Yuehua is a very good person, although his cultivation and doctor rank are not high. 10 years ago, a plague happened in Yangon City and many people died. Later, the plague even spread to other cities and towns. Later, thanks to Master Yuehua wandering around the cities to cure the infected one. In the end, he found an elixir that can cure the plague, but he was sick for a long time due to overworking himself." After Heshi listened, she thoughtfully looked up and down the face and aura of Master Yuehua, and she seemed to understand something. Master Yuehua listened to the guard's words, took a look at Bai Hu and the notice handwriting and then said, "You want to sign up to treat the young city lord?" Bai Hu hurriedly said, "Yes. This notice says that the recruitment will end tomorrow. Anyone with superior medical skills can try it, but today I found that it was just a lie." Master Yuehua shook his head and smiled, "That isn't true, mister. The notice also stated that once a doctor who can treat the young city lord is found, the notice will be ineffective immediately. Now that Fairy Jishi is willing to treat the young city lord, we cancel the notice. How can this be a lie?" Bai Hu put his hands around his chest with a half-smile. "Master Yuehua, can you guarantee that Fairy Jishi will be able to cure the disease of the young city lord?" This, like the two guards just now, Master Yuehua also hesitated. Thinking of the strange disease of his nephew, the suffering he suffered, and the helplessness of so many doctors, Master Yuehua suddenly felt that it would be good if there was more helper. As a result, his complexion softened a bit. He looked behind Bai Hu and said, "I don't know who among you wants to sign up?" The spiritual power circulating in Bai Hu was biased toward fierce combat, so he clearly had nothing to do with the doctor. Heshi slowly took a step forward after hearing this. "It's me." As soon as Heshi said this, Master Yuehua suddenly showed a disappointed look. The boy in front of him was only 16 years old. He looked very handsome, like a pampered young man of a noble family instead of a doctor. With this age and this kind of appearance, even if he has some medical skills, how good can it be? Master Yuehua thought so, but he didn't show it on his face. Instead, he asked in a gentle voice, "This little boy, what is your doctor rank? What is your level of the pill refiner? Do you belong to any faction?" Heshi shook her head calmly. "I don't have any rank and I don't belong to any faction." Can Heshi convince Master Yuehua with her medical skills? Chapter 925. Utterly shocked. "You don't have a rank and you still dare to register? Are you insane?" The person next to him just now dared to say that he is on par with Fairy Jishi. This is simply overreaching himself. The guard on the side who had been arguing with Bai Hu couldn't help but sneered and said, "Ha, I thought he was a big shot. Even dares to compare himself with Fairy Jishi. It turns out that he doesn't even have a doctor rank. Even if you want to earn money in our Yangon city, you don't have to be so shameless, right?" Bai Hu and the others raised their eyebrows when they heard the anger, and they wanted to immediately take a shot and give the guard a severe lesson. But he was stopped by Heshi. Master Yuehua also said coldly with a solemn face, "Young man, this is a matter of life and death. How can you take it so lightly? Since you have no rank, why do you show up here and say that you can cure the young city lord?" Heshi raised her eyebrows and said with a spurious smile, "A person who has no rank can't treat people? Then there are so many doctors in the Doctors Association. Has anyone treated the strange disease on Master Yuehua?" "What?" With just this sentence, Master Yuehua's expression suddenly changed. "Master, what do you mean by this?" Heshi looked up and down at him, then she smiled and said with a voice transmission, "Master hasn't been refining pill for a long time, right? Since then, your doctor rank has not improved as well, right?" Master Yuehua was really surprised this time and almost jumped up. "You? How did you know? Who did you hear from? Or you?" Heshi's eyes flickered, and she continued to speak with voice transmission. "The upper burner vein is blocked, the middle burner is insufficient of yang, the lower burner has in fire, the spiritual power collapses and cannot condense. You can't maintain the spiritual fire for a long time, so you naturally can't refine pill. I can tell these just by seeing Master's face. Do I still need someone else to tell me that? Master Yuehua's mouth widened, and he couldn't say a word for a long time. He didn't understand what upper burner, middle burner, and lower burner that Heshi said in the first half of the sentence, but her second half of the sentence described his current illness without any mistake. His spiritual power was broken, and he was unable to maintain spiritual fire to refine pill. However, my symptoms, even the 8th rank doctor of the Doctors Association, can barely determine after careful examination with spiritual power. This young man actually knew only by looking at my face. How is this possible? Seeing Master Yuehua's uncertain face, Heshi knew he was obviously taken aback. She couldn't help but smiled, took out a medicinal pill from the void and handed it to Master Yuehua. You can try to take this medicinal pill, then try and go to refine pill. Although it can't eradicate your illness for the time being, it should help you a bit. Master Yuehua took the medicinal pill with hesitation. After observing carefully, he found that the pure aura emitted by this medicinal pill was unprecedented in his life. There was a flash of light in his eyes. He put the medicinal pill away before saying humbly, "Thank you, mister, for giving me the medicine. May I know mister's name?" Heshi still used the method of voice transmission to say 2 words slowly, "Shiyu." "Ah!" Master Yuehua exclaimed. He was looking at Shiyu with shock instead of the previous doubt. "You are the miracle healer Shiyu who found the Shengda Hall, sells the best quality pill, and can even connect broken limbs." Heshi nodded and intercepted Master Yuehua's words, then she smiled and said, "I don't know if I'm still eligible to sign up." Chapter 926. Moved into the City Lord's mansion. Of course you are eligible. Master Yuehua nodded without hesitation. If Mr. is not eligible, no one will be eligible nowadays. What's more, I have just learned Mr.'s magical medical skills just now. However, the specific matters need to be determined by the City Lord. Please follow me to stay in the City Lord's mansion. I will tell you the result after I report to the City Lord. Master Yuehua's remarks caused a greater uproar among the audience. In order not to disclose her identity, Heshi used voice transmission to diagnose Master Yuehua and tell her name. So in the eyes of the audience, Master Yuehua was shocked when he saw the young man. Then he said that he would take him to the City Lord's mansion. The young City Lord's illness will obviously be treated by Fairy Jishi. Why Master Yuehua still approved this young man's registration? Could it be that there are some secrets between this young man and Master Yuehua? Master Yuehua didn't care about everyone's reactions, and he led, with a look of awe, Heshi and her party to the backyard of the City Lord's mansion. For this doctor recruitment event, the City Lord deliberately vacated a courtyard for the doctors who came to sign up. This yard was luxuriously decorated, the view was pleasant, and the space was even greater. It was just that it was empty now. Except for the servants who were cleaning up and down, there was no one inside. Master Yuehua explained warmly, originally, there were many doctors in this courtyard. They would discuss and summarize the young City Lord's condition in this courtyard every day. It's just that since Fairy Jishi came, these doctors thought they were inferior and left. That's why this courtyard is so empty now. In fact, Master Yuehua didn't say that all the doctors in this courtyard didn't intend to leave initially. Although Fairy Jishi was well known, she was only a little girl in her early 20s. Many doctors had more experience than her. Originally, they wanted to discuss with Fairy Jishi. Who knows, this Fairy Jishi's junior sister apprentice Renshuling was extremely arrogant and domineering. She laughed at all the doctors and said that they were overreaching themselves for staying here. They just wanted to wait until Fairy Jishi treated the young City Lord, then they would get some benefits. Those old doctors who could be recruited by the City Lord, which one of them was not prestigious and proud? After being humiliated by Renshuling, who will live? Who is embarrassed to live? But this Renshuling is the daughter of the former City Lord of Yangon City. He is so powerful in Yangon City that even the current City Lord dare not discipline her. Since those doctors suffered so much humiliation, They of course all left in indignation in the end. Now this Mr. Shi is staying in. If he meets Ren Shuling, what will the result be? Thinking of this, Master Yuehua couldn't help but frown. Master Yuehua found a manservant to lead Heshi and the others to settle in a room while he himself went to the study room where the city lord's office was located to explain it to him. It was just that Master Yuehua would never think that the thing he worried about happened right when the manservant brought Heshi and her party to their room. They met Ren Shuling in the courtyard. Ren Shuling's swollen nose and swollen face were already much better under Fairy Jishi's treatment than in the morning, but there was still a bulge on her forehead. Her left and right faces looked a little asymmetrical. It will be Ren Shuling's time to run away this time. Chapter 927. The world is so small originally, she suffered a grievance that she couldn't express. She hated the Emo Xiaodu who made her miserable and Heshi and others who rescued Emo Xiaodu halfway through. Who knew that as soon as she returned to the yard, she saw this group of people and screamed immediately, "Why are you here?" The manservant who led Heshi and the others immediately bowed and said, reporting to Miss Ren, they were invited by Master Yuehua to treat the young city lord. "What are you talking about?" Ren Shuling was furious when she heard the words. "Isn't my senior sister already promised to help you in treating the young city lord? Why do you want to invite others? Are you looking down on my senior sister? You even invite a group of lowly citizens? Do you believe I will demolish your courtyard now?" Emo Xiaodu said angrily, "You're really rude. Always yelling like a shrew. You even scold us as lowly citizens? You are the lowliest person. Go and demolish the courtyard if you dare. Do you believe I will beat you up?" As she spoke, she waved the pair of chubby fists. Ren Shuling still remembered the taste of Emo Xiaodu's fist, so she backed off a few steps hearing that. She said in a trembling tone, "This is in the city lord's mansion. You? How dare you?" Emo Xiaodu clenched her fist and took a step forward. "Do you think I don't dare?" Ren Shuling remembered being beaten by this girl in the morning, and she suddenly screamed in fright. She slapped her maid beside her face and shouted hysterically, "Have you not seen how these people treat me? Why don't you tell the city lord hurriedly? If the city lord looks down on us, then senior sister and I will leave. If you still want my senior sister to treat your young city lord, then get them out of here now." The maid was originally assigned to serve her in the city lord's mansion, so she was always bullied by Ren Shuling. At this time, she was slapped until she couldn't stand still. Half of her face was swollen. However, thinking of the city lord's instructions, she did not dare to retort. She covered her face and said in a sobbing tone, "I will report to the city lord now." As soon as the maid left, Ren Shuling's face turned pale as she saw Emo Xiaodu trying hard to hold back her smile. She quickly held a magic weapon in her hand. As she was about to say a few ruthless words, she suddenly heard a man's voice behind her, "Xueling, so you are here, you are really hard to find." When Ren Shuling heard the man's voice, she was overjoyed and quickly turned around and said, "Cousin, it's great that you are here," she said with a sobbing tone as if she had suffered endless grievances. At the gate of the courtyard, a young man in his 20s appeared. He was handsome, but his figure was a little thin. He was dressed in a snow-white robe with a fan in his hand. "What's the matter?" The man in a white robe shook his fan as if he was making a joke. Could it be that in this Yangon city, there are still people who dare to make cousins suffer a grievance? Shuling rushed over and took his hand, pointing at Emo Xiaodu, Heshi and the others angrily. "Cousin, if you don't come here soon, Shuling will be bullied to death by these people. Look at my face. It was them who beat me up in the morning." The man in a white robe looked at the wound on Xueling's face, and a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. "The injury is real. My unruly cousin really didn't lie. Even if more cousins come, they can't save you, Ren Shuling." Chapter 928. I just don't believe it. He looked in the direction of Heshi and others. He saw that the men were handsome and the women were charming. Their cultivation wasn't not low either. Among them, the unparalleled handsome man in black made him a kind of horror. The feeling of, obviously, they were not easy to mess with. The man in a white robe put away the fan, slightly cupped his fist and smiled. I'm Li Zhenyu, the sword-holding elder of the Yunlan sect. My cousin Shuling has always been arrogant and self-willed, so please forgive her. Yunlan sect. Shen Qingchua repeated it in a slightly surprised voice. Seeing Heshi's inquiring gaze, she quickly stepped forward and explained, Sister Shiyu, Yunlan sect is the sect of the Tiangang Kingdom second only to Qingxia sect. Although the strength and number of the Yunlan sect can't be compared with Qingxia sect, the relationship between the Yunlan sect and the Doctors Association is very good. So, sometimes in the big competition in the Tiangang Kingdom, they will get medicinal pills with strong effect from the Doctors Association to temporarily increase their combat power and win against our Qingxia sect occasionally. When Shen Qingchua said this, she couldn't help frowning angrily. Then she continued, the sword-holding elder of the Yunlan sect must at least be at the gold core stage later stage, and the person must have extremely high attainments in swordsmanship. I'm not quite clear about Yunlan sect, but it seems that they did have a new sword-holding elder a few years ago. Heshi nodded, indicating that she understood. But Li Zhenyu, who was dressed in white, couldn't get a reply after speaking. He couldn't help but straighten up and smiled. May I know the reason for you guys to be at the Yangon city? Cousin, why are you so polite to these bastards? They came to fight against my senior sister Zhishi. Ren Shuling's yelling made Li Zhenyu's expression slightly startled, then his eyes darkened a bit. He raised his eyebrow and gently tapped his palm with the fan handle. You guys are here to trouble Zhishi? The manservant who brought in Heshi and others hurriedly stepped forward and said, Mr. Li, these doctors brought by Master Yuehua to treat the young city lord. Before Li Zhenyu finished speaking, Ren Shuling said angrily, with my senior sister, why do you need these insignificant doctors for? Is Master Yuehua looking down on my senior sister? The manservant suddenly sweated profusely on his forehead. He said quickly, no, really not. Master Yuehua just hopes to increase the possibility of healing the young city lord. This time, even Li Zhenyu's face was darkened. He squinted. Zhishi's medical skills are well known by the entire Miluo continent. Originally, as the lord of Yangon City, even with divine soul jade as the reward, he might not be able to invite her. But now she is willing to treat Xiaotian. That is the blessing of Yangon City and also the blessing of Xiaotian. You recruited other doctors to come in, is it because you don't believe in Zhishi's medical skills? No, absolutely not. Fairy Zhishi's medical skills are superb and kind-hearted, how can we doubt it? Master Yuehua is just... The sweat dripped from the manservant's forehead as he stuttered in his words. Mo Xiaodu would just let people bully her, so she immediately stepped forward and said straightforwardly, we just don't believe in that fairy Zhishi. Because she hasn't cured people now. My master said that anything that hasn't happened yet, you can't be 100% sure of the result. Do you dare to say that the fairy sister can definitely cure the young city lord's illness? Nice one little rabbit. Now, will they shut up or this will end up in a fight? Chapter 929. I'm afraid of snakes. Li Zhenyu was taken aback for a moment. No one could guarantee things like this. If he said it would be cured, it would give people a subject for ridicule. His face looked unsightly right away. The little girl in front really doesn't know how to speak properly. Mo Xiaodu saw that he was speechless, thinking that she was good at eloquence. She showed a triumphant smile. Our brother Shiyu's medical skills are also very good. Since we are all saving people and you said that Sister Fairy is kind-hearted, why don't you let Brother Shiyu treat the disease with her? Is it because she is afraid that she will lose face if Brother Shiyu cures the patient, but she can't? Mo Xiaotu's words made Li Zhenyu's face immediately sullen. Little girl, you can't talk nonsense. If you continue to speak so unscrupulously and slander Zhishi, I can only ask you all to leave here by force. How am I talking nonsense? Mo Xiaotu's eyes widened and her face was full of resentment. Which sentence I said is not the truth? Why do you want to chase us out? What's more, we are invited by Master Yuehua. Who are you to chase us out? Seeing that you look like a decent human, I thought you were a good person. It turns out that you, like that ugly woman, are also a bad person who bullies others. Ren Shuling heard her calling herself an ugly monster again. Then she remembered the beating and humiliation she had received in the morning. Suddenly, new hatred and old hatred surged in her mind. She screamed, "Cousin, why are you still talking with them? I will definitely teach them a lesson today." As she said, she flew up with a flying sword with ice crystals in her hand. How could Emo Xiaodu be afraid of the loser Rinchuling? Seeing the flying sword stabbed at her, she stretched out her hand and firmly grasped the sharp blade without any fancy move. "It seems that I haven't taught you enough lesson in the morning. Okay, then I will teach you how to not be a bad guy again." Emo Xiaodu held the blade and was about to lift Rinchuling up and throw her out. Suddenly, when her wrist was tightened, there was something strange wrapped around her wrist. It was cool, slippery, covered with scales, and it was even creeping. Emo Xiaodu pulled her wrist curiously and looked forward. When she saw clearly what was wrapped around her hand, she suddenly screamed, "Snake? It's a snake." "What? I'm afraid of snakes. Little rabbit fears snake the most. Wu, brother Shiyu, save me. Shao Qi, save me." It turned out that the head of a snake was wrapped around Emo Xiaotu's hand. At this moment, the triangular head of the snake was raised high, breathing out snake breathe at Emo Xiaotu. The pair of small eyes emitted a dark light. The body of the snake was extremely long, but the other end was held in Li Jianyu's hand. The silver snake tail was still coiled several times on his arm. Li Jianyu was gently stroking the body of the snake at this time, saying coldly, "Girl, I see that you are young, so I won't trouble you. If you apologize to Jishi and Shuling right now, I will spare you. Otherwise, if you are bitten by the golden ring silver-tailed snake, even if you have high cultivation, you will only die of poison." Rinchuling saw that Emo Xiaotu's jumping and crying, and she suddenly felt very relieved. She clapped her hands and laughed and said, "Cousin is still amazing. Are you very arrogant? Cousin, let this snake bite her, hurry up." This bitch said in the morning that senior sister did not look good. She even slandered senior sister as a bad guy for indulging my arrogance. "Cousin, you must not let her go. I hope they have already chosen their coffin and the place to bury themselves." Chapter 930. Try it yourself. When Li Jianyu heard these words of Rinchuling, his face became more gloomy. He sneered, "Since you have been so disrespectful to Jishi, then don't blame me for being impolite." The snake head that was originally wrapped around Emo Xiaotu's arm immediately sprang up and rushed toward Emo Xiaotu's neck fiercely. "Help me!" Emo Xiaotu let out a scream and closed her eyes while crying. However, after waiting for a long time, the horrible, cold and slippery pain expected did not come. Emo Xiaotu opened her eyes cautiously. She saw that the snake that had just pounced on her had already been rolling on the ground in pain. Moreover, as the snake was rolling, half of its body seemed to have been corroded by something and broke apart. Li Jianyu grabbed the remaining half of the snake's tail in his hand and looked down at the broken golden ring silver-tailed snake with shock. He glanced around, finally set his gaze on Heshi. He sounded afraid. "Who are you exactly?" "Although my golden ring silver-tailed snake is not strong in attack, it is a rank 4 magical beast. This golden ring silver-tailed snake is even refined with special medicines. Even high-level magic weapons may not be able to cut it off. Now, this young man can simply cut it off with a wave of his hand?" Heshi smiled slightly and threw a glance at Shao Qi. Shao Qi rushed out excitedly, grabbed the broken snake head, and ran toward Heshi while dragging it. Emo Xiaodu, who had just been frightened, finally recovered from the shock at this time. As she saw Shao Qi, she pounced on him and cried out immediately, "Wu, I'm most afraid of snake. I hate it. I hate it." Shao Qi was stunned by being hugged by Emo Xiaodu. It took a long time before he pushed her away, then he eagerly dragged the snake to Heshi's side and handed it to her. The pair of purple eyes were shining as if they were eager for praise and affirmation. Together with his handsome face, he looked particularly cute. Heshi reached out and touched his head, took the snake, and whispered, "Shao Qi, good boy." After speaking, Heshi looked at Li Jianyu ahead, and her voice suddenly turned cold. "Elder Li is really so bold and capable. You actually use a vicious golden ring silver-tailed snake to deal with a little girl." Li Jianyu frowned and said, You killed Silvertail just now? How did you do it? The smile on the corner of Hushi's mouth became colder. She suddenly pinched the head of the golden ring silvertail snake and squeezed it hard. Suddenly, the venom of the venomous cyst was slowly squeezed out by her. At this moment, Li Zhenyu finally showed a look of astonishment in his eyes. He watched Hushi caught the drop of venom with her hand. That is the venom of the golden ring silver-tailed snake. If it touches the skin, it will burn and corrode. Even magic weapon will be corroded. This young man actually catches it with his hand. After Hushi caught the drop of venom, she smiled slightly and said, "Since you like to use poison so much, why not try the poison you use?" After speaking, the venom in her hand suddenly scattered, flying toward Ren Shuling and Li Zhenyu. At the same moment, the council chamber of the city lord's mansion. The current city lord of Yangon City was named Zhuge Feng, who was a powerhouse at the intermediate stage of the Gold Core stage. In his early years, he worked as a manager in the outside office of the Doctors Association. He had some friendships with some of the elders in the Doctors Association. "Rip, will Fairy Jishi come out and cure the poison?" Chapter 931. What is his name? After he was over 80 years old, Zhuge Feng realized that his cultivation might be difficult to make progress, so he married and had children. He gave birth to an only child named Zhuge Xiaotian. Zhuge Xiaotian's talent was much better than that of Zhuge Feng. He broke through the meridian stage when he was only in his early 20s. Now, in just a few years, he was already at the peak of the meridian stage before 30 years old. If his son could reach the Gold Core stage before the age of 40, his future prospects would far surpass him. But suddenly one day, when his son came back from a secret realm, he suddenly fell ill with a strange disease. From then on, not to mention the improvement of his cultivation base, even living a normal life had become an extravagant hope. During this period of time, Zhuge Feng tried his best to treat his son. He even invited one of the elders of the Doctors Association, but in the end, everyone was helpless. But fortunately, now Fairy Jishi was here. After seeing Zhuge Xiaotian's condition, Fairy Jishi said that it could be cured, which made Zhuge Feng's anxiety mood improved a bit over the past few days. At this moment, he heard the report from his subordinate that Master Yuehua was requesting to see him. As soon as Master Yuehua saw Zhuge Feng, he explained his intentions. "Brother Zhuge, I hired a doctor who applied for the recruitment order in the West Market today." As soon as this statement came out, Zhuge Feng was taken aback. If Master Yuehua said this a few days ago, he would definitely ask him with joy. After all, more doctors meant more hopes to cure it. But now, Zhuge Feng frowned and said, "Brother Yuehua, you also know that Fairy Jishi has a way to cure Xiaotian now. If we still hire a doctor and annoy Fairy Jishi which makes her refuse to treat Xiaonan, what should we do then?" Master Yuehua nodded when he heard the words, "I originally thought so. But when I met this person, he pointed out the fact that I have not been able to pill refining for many years." "What?" Zhuge Feng asked in surprise. "Could it be that he has heard about you?" Master Yuehua smiled bitterly. "Brother Zhuge, you know my situation. Ever since I have that strange disease, I have been staying at home. Everyone thought I was ill. Only your closest brothers know about my true situation. I never believe that you will reveal my illness, not to mention the doctor who treated me. Moreover, this doctor didn't even check my body with spiritual power. He just looked at my face and told the fact that I can't pill refining and condense my spiritual power into spiritual fire." Zhuge Feng was really surprised at this moment. He said in disbelief, "This person is really so good? Then what is his doctor grade? Who is he from? Is it better than Fairy Jishi?" Master Yuehua shook his head and said, "He doesn't have a doctor grade, and he didn't tell his history." Zhuge Feng's face suddenly showed disappointment. He shook his head and said, "He doesn't even have a doctor grade. He must be here to fool me. Brother Yuehua, if he can guess your condition, he must have used some kind of petty tricks. It's better to get rid of him quickly." Master Yuehua showed a sly smile and slowly said, "Although he does not have a doctor grade, if I say his name, I believe Brother Zhuge will know him." "Oh, what's his name?" Master Yuehua smiled and slowly uttered two words, "Shiyu." If Jishi cares about her reputation, she won't give up treating just because they hire another doctor. Though. Chapter 932, Got into a Fight, Shiyu? Zhuge Feng was taken aback for a moment. This name was a little strange to him, but he widened his eyes in an instant. He said in disbelief, "Is he not the miracle healer Shiyu in Yanjing City that you are talking about?" Master Yuehuan nodded without hesitation. "It's him." Zhuge Feng was stunned for a while. For ordinary martial artists, the name Shiyu might not be very famous. But for martial artists engaged in pill refining and physicians, and for Zhuge Feng, who was eagerly looking for medical help, Shiyu, who had just risen in the past 6 months, had long been known by him. When his son was in the worst condition, Zhuge Feng even sent someone to Yanjing City to inquire about this miracle healer Shiyu. Because he heard people say that this miracle healer connected the broken tendons of Ouyang Haoshuan. He even used unprecedented medical skills. This gave him a glimmer of hope for his son's illness. He asked people to inquire about Yanjing City for several days, but he could not find the so-called miracle healer at all. Later he learned that this miracle healer went to Breaking Spirit Mountain to participate in the big hunting match. But now, this miracle healer actually came to visit by himself. How could this not make Zhuge Feng excited and nervous? But thinking of Fairy Jishi, who was already preparing to treat his son, Zhuge Feng felt a little worried. If I let Shiyu treat Xiaodan, will I annoy Fairy Jishi? But when he thought of his son's strange illness, even the elders of the Doctors' Association couldn't help it. If so, what if Fairy Jishi couldn't cure it? Shiyu was his only hope. Thinking of this, Zhuge Feng immediately made up his mind, grabbing Master Yuehua's wrist and saying in a solemn voice, "Brother Yuehua, please take me to see miracle healer Shi. I will ask him to treat my son's disease in person." Before Zhuge Feng's words were finished, a sudden rush of footsteps came from outside the door. A manservant opened the door vigorously and said anxiously, "The maid of Lanxiang Courtyard came to report that Miss Ren Shuling had quarreled with the new doctor. Miss Ren even said that she wants to chase everyone out, otherwise she and Fairy Jishi will leave." "What did you say?" Zhuge Feng's expression changed drastically. "And you all didn't intervene? This is Fairy Jishi and Shiyu. If either of them is gone, my son will lose a hope of survival." The manservant wiped the sweat from his face and whispered, "City Lord, things are more than that." Later, even elderly was involved. Now the two sides have started fighting. Damn. Zhuge Feng roared and greeted Master Yuehua quickly, "Go, let's go and see." In Lanxiang Courtyard, the venom of the golden ring silver-tailed snake flew out. Li Zhenyu cast a defensive golden shield almost without even thinking, blocking the snake fluid that was launched at him. It was just that as the snake venom touched the golden shield shook violently. The rich spiritual power on it was corroded completely in the blink of an eye. It wasn't until a small hole was corroded on the golden shield that the venom completely disappeared. Li Zhenyu breathed a sigh of relief, but he heard a scream from Ren Shuling beside him. Li Zhenyu could use a golden shield to block the venom of the golden ring silver-tailed snake, but Ren Shuling did not have such a good defensive magic weapon. She shook off a veil to resist the venom. Although she was safe for a moment, the venom still splashed on Ren Shuling's hand in the end. Not on her face. Chapter 933. Who did I? As the burning pain came, Ren Shuling screamed. "Cousin!" Li Zhenyu exclaimed and rushed to Ren Shuling's side. He saw that a small hole was corroded on her. A faint black gas was spreading from the bloody wound. If the poison spread throughout her body, she would be killed on the spot. Li Zhenyu immediately glared at Heshi. "How can you be so insidious? If anything happens to my cousin, I will never let you go." Heshi sneered and said, "This snake belongs to you, and the snake venom is also yours. I use your thing to deal with you. Is it considered insidious? Then what are you?" Ren Shuling felt a tingling pain on the back of her hand, and she screamed in fear, "Cousin, save me. Save me. Give me the cure, I don't want to die." Li Zhenyu's face became pale. When he left Yunlan sect, He did have the antidote for the golden ring silver-tailed snake with him. It was just that he met Lu Zixi on the road 2 days ago, and Lu Zixi wanted to study the venom of the golden ring silver-tailed snake. He naturally gave the snake and the antidote to Lu Zixi without hesitation. Lu Zixi returned the golden ring silver-tailed snake after studying, but she didn't return the antidote to him. For the snake breeder, not having the antidote was extremely dangerous. However, as long as it was Lu Zixi's request, Li Zhenyu agreed without thinking about it. But now, how could the poison on Ren Shuling's body be cured? Just as Li Zhenyu was anxious and Ren Shuling was panicking, a gentle but slightly cold voice of a woman came from outside the courtyard. "Shuling, what happened?" Senior sister, help me." Ren Shuling looked up and saw Lu Zixi outside the courtyard, and she immediately burst into tears. "These people poisoned me with the venom of the golden ring silver-tailed snake. Senior sister, please save me." "What? Golden ring silver-tailed snake?" Lu Zixi's originally cold face showed a shocked expression. She glanced at Heshi and Nangong Yu and the others, then hurriedly squatted down beside Ren Shuling. When Ren Shuling saw her coming, she seemed to see her life-saving straw. She cried out, "Senior sister, you are so powerful. You will definitely be able to detoxify the venom of the golden ring silver-tailed snake, right?" "Oh, I don't want to die." Lu Zixi said softly, "Don't worry, I'll check it for you." As she said, the pure water spiritual power of her body mixed with the vital wind spiritual power sank into Ren Shuling's body and slowly wandered through her body. Heshi saw the light green mixed in the dark blue in Lu Zixi's spiritual power, and she couldn't help raising her eyebrow in surprise. Nangong Yu whispered in her ear, "Wind spiritual power is a variant spiritual root of wood spiritual power. Pure wind element spiritual root will also have the same vitality as wood spiritual root, but it is far inferior to wood spiritual root. But even this kind of pure wind spiritual power attribute spiritual root is not common in Miluo continent. Lu Zixi is very rare to have this kind of spiritual root." Hashi nodded, remembering the rumor that anyone who had a wood spiritual root would be forcibly taken away by the Doctors' Association. She raised her brow with interest. Lu Zixi quickly checked the condition of Ren Shuling. When she retracted her spiritual power, her face had become extremely solemn like frost. She took out a medicinal pill for Ren Shuling to swallow, then she turned around to look at Hishi and the others and said coldly, "Who did this to Shuling? Could it be that the cure is finished in Lu Zixi's hand?" Chapter 934. Isn't this a fool? Li Zhenyu walked to her and said in a deep voice, "Zixi, sorry, I didn't protect Shuling well and let her suffer the sinister attack." As he said, he pointed at Heshi and said coldly, "He is the one who hurt Shuling. This young boy is so young but so vicious. He not only ruined my golden ring silver-tailed snake, but he also squeezed the venom from the snake's teeth to attack us, obviously wanting to kill us." Lu Zixi frowned and looked at Heshi, then she glanced at Nangong Yu next to her. She slowly said, "Mister, my junior sister apprentice had already apologized for what happened this morning. Time has changed. We should forget past grievance. Why is Mister so narrow-minded that you still refuse to let go of my junior sister apprentice? You even used poison on my junior sister apprentice. Doesn't Mister think that you are too vicious?" "Nonsense," Emo Xiaodu said without waiting for Heshi to speak. She said angrily with red eyes, "It's obviously this bad guy in white clothes who let the snake bit me. Brother Shiyu fought back to save me. Why did you say that Brother Shiyu is narrow-minded? You are the narrow-minded one who can't tell right from wrong. Even if you look pretty, I won't like you anymore. What's more, you don't look as good as Brother Shiyu." "Brother Shiyu?" Lu Zixi frowned when she heard Emo Xiaotu's words, but then she suddenly widened his eyes, showing a shocked expression. "You're Shiyu from the Yanjing city?" Heshi looked at her with a half-smile. "So what if I am?" This 16-year-old boy, who has snow-white skin and an appearance that is prettier than me, is the well-known young miracle healer Shiyu in Yanjing City. Maybe Shiyu's reputation in Tiangang Kingdom Yangon City was not particularly well-known, so very few people knew about her. However, Lu Zixi was the daughter of the president of the Doctors' Association. How could she not know how terrifying Shiyu was? It was this young boy who appeared out of nowhere and became famous with his ungraded doctor identity. He could actually refine the best quality pills and supply them to Qingxia sect continuously, which caused a crisis in the monopoly of the medicinal pills by the Doctors' Association. Lu Zixi took a deep breath and frowned at Heshi. Miracle healer Shi, I have heard of your big name for a long time. But immediately she changed the thread of discussion and revealed a questioning look. Since you are miracle healer Shiyu, then you have to be benevolence as a doctor. Medical skills are used to save people instead of harming people. Mr. took advantage of your advanced medical skills to use sinister mean on my junior sister. Don't you feel that you have completely violated the way of the doctor? Heshi sneered and said, according to Fairy Zixi, being attacked by others with poison, not only I can't use medical skills to protect myself, but I still have to compliment the attacker? Fairy Zixi is really a saint. I hope that next time someone slaps your left cheek, you will let him slap your right cheek as well. As soon as Heshi said this, Mo Xiaodu suddenly laughed out loud. Being slapped on the left cheek and still letting people slap the right cheek? Isn't this a fool? Lu Zixi face flushed suddenly. She glanced at Nangong Yu, and she noticed that he was looking at the young man with a gentle smile in his eyes. She suddenly remembered that when she was traveling in Songming Kingdom, she heard someone said that King of Hell, Nangong Yu, abandoned Feng Lianying. It was even because of a handsome young man. It was rumored that Nangong Yu liked man. Chapter 935. Fight poison with poison. When Lu Zixi heard this rumor, she was even more disdainful of Feng Lianying and the so-called Miluo continent's first genius Nangong Yu. But now, seeing him looking at Shiyu with such a gentle gaze, but he didn't even turn to glance at her for once, there was a burst of indescribable unwillingness in her mind. As Lu Zixi thought, a cold murderous intent exuded from her face. She looked coldly at Heshi. Mr. Shi, I just hope that you will be kind and don't be ruthless. Why do you misunderstand what I mean? Even my junior sister did wrong. She doesn't deserve death. Does Miracle Healer Shi still feel what you did is completely correct? Mo Xiaodu jumped up and said, you ask Brother Shiyu not to be ruthless to this ugly monster, but they wanted to kill me with a poisonous snake just now. Why don't you reprimand them? Heshi stopped Mo Xiaodu and smiled. Fairy Zixi, since when I am ruthless to your junior sister apprentice? The murderous intent exuded by Lu Zixi was even more intense. You know how strong the venom of the golden ring silvertail snake is, but you still use this venom to attack my junior sister apprentice. Isn't this ruthless? Before Lu Zixi had finished speaking, she suddenly heard Ren Shuling screaming and shouting, it's so itchy. So itchy. Sister, I'm very itchy. As soon as Lu Zixi turned her head, she saw Ren Shuling scratching her arms until her skin was bloody. She was shocked, then she quickly squatted down and used spiritual power to explore again. The more she explored, the more shocked she was. What's going on? I have obviously let Ren Shuling take the antidote for the golden ring silver-tailed snake, but now she is not cured. On the contrary, it seems that some kind of toxin is continuously spreading in her body. Just when Lu Zixi was shocked, he heard Heshi's clear voice behind her. What I used to attack them was not the venom of the golden ring silver-tailed snake at all. It was just ordinary sulfuric acid water that burned the skin, and some anesthetic was added to it. For martial artists, they can quickly recover by channeling spiritual power. But I did not expect that Fairy Zixi would give your junior sister apprentice the antidote to the golden ring silver-tailed snake without checking it. The antidote to snake venom is usually to fight poison with poison. Since your junior sister apprentice isn't poisoned, then she is really poisoned now. Lu Zixi stood up abruptly, staring at Heshi in disbelief with her hands trembling slightly. Ren Shuling cried out after hearing Heshi's words, Senior sister, save me. Save me. I don't want to be poisoned to death. Lu Zixi frowned fiercely when she heard that. She squatted down, took a snow-white pill from her arm and let Ren Shuling swallow it. As soon as Ren Shuling saw the pill, she shouted with her eyes brightened up, it's Juku Lingshan pill, great. My poison can definitely be cured. Thank you, senior sister. As she said, she swallowed the medicinal pill in one gulp. Almost the moment the medicinal pills entered her abdomen, she felt a warm spring-like current flowing through the meridians throughout her body. The original itchiness and discomfort disappeared in an instant. At the moment Ren Shuling swallowed the medicinal pill, Xiao Qi couldn't help but raised his head abruptly. His body was trembling slightly, and he got close to Heshi. Heshi hurriedly hugged him, gently stroked his long soft black hair and said softly, "Xiao Qi, don't be afraid, sister will protect you and never let anyone hurt you again." This fairy Jishi is really full of bullshit. Chapter 936. How could she be compared? Xiao Qi was stunned for a moment, then he immediately fell into Heshi's arms obediently, revealing a crystal-clear warm smile. Nangong Yu frowned and looked at Xiao Qi, who was nestled in Heshi's arms, with annoyance. He wanted to kick this guy out, but he managed to endure it. Lu Jishi turned her head and saw that Nangong Yu was looking at Heshi with a frown. With a move of his mind, she took a deep breath and took a step forward. Miracle Healer Shi's technique in poison is really amazing. I'm willing to admit defeat. It's just that what I'm good at is curing diseases and saving people, so I didn't study too much with poisons. Today, I almost killed my junior sister apprentice. However, since Miracle Healer Shi was watching from the side, why didn't you remind me and watched my junior sister apprentice taking the poison? If I don't have Juka Lingshan pill with me, wouldn't Miracle Healer Shi become a murderer? Heshi couldn't help laughing when she heard this. She pushed Xiao Qi away, raised her eyebrows and smiled. Who told you that I cure the venom of the golden ring silver-tailed snake? Lu Jishi was startled. Her face looked even more ugly. Such an arrogant and vicious young man, why will Nangong Yu only look at him? She concluded that this Royal Highness King of Hell was just a normal person who judged people by appearance. But even though she thought so, the depression in her heart still couldn't be relieved. Li Zhenyu had been holding back for a long time on the side. At this moment, seeing Lu Jishi being so humiliated by Heshi, he couldn't help but furious. He said with a gloomy face, "You guys get out of Yangon City right away. You are not welcome here." As soon as he spoke, hurried footsteps coming from outside the yard. Soon, Lord Zhuge Feng and Master Yuehua rushed over. As soon as Ren Shuling saw Zhuge Feng, she immediately screamed, "Uncle Zhuge, why did you invite this group of peasants to treat Brother Xiaodian? Don't you believe in my senior sister's medical skills? Since you don't believe in my senior sister, then we will go immediately." Zhuge Feng's face flushed red immediately. He quickly dissuaded her, "This must be a misunderstanding. Fairy Jishi, Miracle Healer Shi, both of you are famous miracle healers in the world. It is a great blessing for my child to be treated by both of you." Li Zhenyu sneered, "City Lord Zhuge, that Shiyu is just an underage young man who doesn't even have a doctor rank. You actually compare him with Jishi? Are you looking down on Jishi and the Doctors Association?" "Why would I do that? How dare I look down on the Doctors Association?" Zhuge Feng said quickly, "Who does not know the name of Fairy Jishi? It's just that my son's disease is really strange. If more doctors can treat him, there will be more hope to treat him naturally. I also hope that young Master Li will appreciate my love for my son." Ren Shuling furiously said, "My senior sister has said that she can cure Xiaoyan's illness. Now you have invited other people, and you dare to say that you don't look down on my senior sister? Senior sister, we kindly come to treat people, but we are being treated like this. What are we still doing here? We will leave now." As Ren Shuling said, she wanted to pull Lu Jishi away. However, after a few steps, Lu Jishi couldn't help turning around and looking at Heshi and Nangong Yu and said suddenly, "Mr. Shi, have you heard of young Master Zhuge's illness? Have you diagnosed him before?" Heshi shook her head, "No." Lu Jishi raised her eyebrows slightly. "Mr. Shi has never seen the patient and you don't even understand the condition of young Master Zhuge? Then you think that you are capable of curing the patient? Don't let this become a competition, Fairy Jishi. You will only put shame on yourself." Chapter 937. Who will win? Heshi said indifferently, "I of course have to see the patient first before deciding whether I can treat him." Lu Jishi sighed softly. She shrugged off Ren Shuling and said, "Junior sister apprentice, I will stay." "Why?" Ren Shuling yelled in surprise. "Senior sister, they did this to you. They don't believe in your medical skills at all." Lu Jishi shook her head with a shallow smile on his face. The smile seemed to have a holy aura. "I'm a doctor, and I'm naturally responsible for my patients. Mr. Shi hasn't even seen the patient, nor does he know if he can heal young Master Zhuge's disease. What if he can't? If I leave and the doctors at Lanxiang Courtyard have all gone? If Mr. Shi can't cure the illness, he at most can't get the divine soul jade, but the young master will continue to suffer from illness. As a doctor, how can I abandon my patients? So, regardless of whether City Lord Zhuge believes in me or not, how Mr. Shi humiliates me, I must stay." Lu Jishi's words moved City Lord Zhuge and Master Yuehua present. They showed admiration to her. Li Zhenyu's gaze looking at Lu Jishi was full of enthusiasm and love, but when Lu Jishi turned around, he immediately lowered his eyes to cover it. Such a kind, holy, and noble Jishi was not a man like him could covet. Lu Jishi smiled slightly and looked at Heshi and said, "Mr. Shi, you don't mind if I stay and continue to treat Xiao Zhuge, right?" Heshi said, "Of course not." Lu Jishi glanced at Nangongyu, but it happened to meet his eyes. The pair of starry eyes were gleaming. That unparalleled handsome face seemed to be hidden behind a mist, making people ignore and forget about him. However, when facing his face directly, it could bring a monstrous impact. Lu Jishi's heart was throbbing. On the street, although she knew that the man in front of her was King of Hell Nangongyu, whether she saw it with her own eyes or she saw him in the recording talisman, he was always in such a magnificent appearance. However, she never realized that Nangongyu was so perfect, so touching. Lu Jishi quickly lowered her eyes, concealed her heartbeat, and continued to speak to Heshi. "Is Mr. Shi going to see the situation of young Master Zhuge now?" Heshi looked at her slightly flushed face and her expression looking at Nangongyu from time to time, and she sneered slightly, "No need. Since I come later, I will let Fairy Jishi to treat the young city lord first. I will check the young city lord's condition in 2 days." Lu Jishi's heart moved. There was a faint arrogant expression on her face. She said, "In that case, I will treat young Master Zhuge again 2 days later. I need to prepare some elixirs. City Lord Zhuge, the morning 2 days later, can you transfer the young city lord to this Lanxiang Courtyard?" "Yes, of course." Zhuge Feng was spirited as he nodded again and again. He believed that as long as Fairy Jishi and Shiyu were there, his son's illness would definitely be cured. Looking at this scene, Baihu couldn't help but hit Gu Lufeng with his elbow and said with a smile, "Is this Fairy Jishi trying to compete with our young master in medical skills? Brother Gu, should we make a bet? Who do you think will win in the end?" Gu Lufeng smiled leisurely. "Certainly, I will bet Shiyu to win. Is this Fairy Jishi good in medical skills, or she is just pretending?" Chapter 938. Let's be who else understood Shiyu's medical skills better than them? Let alone Lu Jishi, even if Lu Jishi's father, the president, came, he might not be able to win against Shiyu in the technique of healing and poisoning. Baihu couldn't help but lower his face and whisper, "Then how can we bet? I also want to bet on the princess." Gu Liufeng's peach blossom eyes gleamed. Suddenly, a very gentle smile appeared on his mouth. "Since we can't bet, it's better to find someone else." Baihu was taken aback. "You mean?" Baihu's eyes lit up looking at Shanggu Liufeng's meaningful eyes. He excitedly patted his shoulder. "This is a good idea. You really deserve to be the one who manages Shengde Hall. Hehe, let's discuss how to spread the news and how to start the bet in such a short time." The two hit it off, and they immediately went to the side and whispered. On the opposite side, Lu Jishi slightly bowed toward Heshi and Nangongyu, then she turned and walked toward her room. This Lanxiang courtyard was very large. The distance between the east and west wing rooms was at least 10 minutes, so they wouldn't disturb each other. Ren Shuling and Li Zhenyu saw that Lu Jishi had gone. They both gave Heshi a cold stare and left as well. On the way back, Ren Shuling was still angry and unwilling. She grasped her fist and said hatefully, "These damn people are really too much. Senior sister is just too kind that she is being bullied like this." Li Jianyu's eyes flickered with a cold light. He sneered, "You wait, as long as Shiyu loses the day after tomorrow, I will let them know what it means to be ruined and fall into the abyss. They actually dare to humiliate Jishi, I will make them pay a painful price." "Cousin, you have a way?" Ren Shuling's eyes lit up when she heard this. She jumped up excitedly, Tell me. Li Jianyu hurriedly made a silent gesture and lowered his voice. "Jishi is kind-hearted. If she knows what we are doing, she will definitely stop us, but I can see that she can't get over the humiliation, so you should keep your voice down. We will do it by ourselves. Even if Jishi wants to blame later, I will shoulder the responsibility." Ren Shuling nodded repeatedly. "Cousin, don't worry, I will never let senior sister know." The two who were just talking in low voices did not notice that Lu Jishi, who was walking in front, was suddenly moved slightly, then she continued to walk forward casually. In the early morning of the next day, a hot news began to spread in Yangon City. Have you heard of it? Someone dared to provoke Fairy Jishi's authority, saying that she definitely can't cure the young city lord's illness. They even humiliated Fairy Jishi. What? Someone dared to humiliate Fairy Jishi? Who on earth is so bold? I heard that it was a kid from the Jinling Kingdom. Relying on his little knowledge of some medical skills, he didn't put Fairy Jishi in his eyes. I heard that in the city lord's mansion, he still wanted to kill Fairy Jishi's junior sister apprentice. Fairy Jishi has a temperament, but she was also annoyed by this kid. That's why she proposed to have a medical skills competition with this kid in the Lanxiang courtyard to treat the young city lord's disease tomorrow? Jinling Kingdom? Isn't it just a small country that doesn't even have a big sect? They actually dare to be arrogant in our Tiangang Kingdom? Is this kid tired of living? Lu Jishi must have heard their conversation, but she didn't stop them. Chapter 939. The odds of 1:130, Fairy Jishi is so kind to even have a competition with him. I heard that the kid doesn't even have a doctor grade. He provoked Fairy Jishi in order to get famous using Fairy Jishi's reputation. We should just beat up this quack and chase him out of the city. What? He dares to compete with Fairy Jishi without a doctor grade? Is this guy tired of living? If this kid loses to Fairy Jishi, will he be punished? Ugh. That's why Fairy Jishi is kind and tolerant. She doesn't even mean to blame such a vicious and rude kid. The two are just having a competition. The kid doesn't have to be punished whether he wins or loses. Even if he loses, this kid will also be famous by the name of Fairy Jishi. What? Isn't that kid taking all the advantage? No way. I'm going to find someone to find out their whereabouts and let people wait outside the city lord's mansion. As long as this kid loses, I must let people teach him a lesson badly. Yes, since he dared to be disrespectful to Fairy Jishi, we must teach him a lesson. For a time, similar news became a hot topic in the streets of Yangon City. All the people were talking about the competition between Fairy Jishi and the kid from the Jinling Kingdom to see who could cure the strange disease of the young city lord. As for the unfamiliar name Shiyu, they cursed the name badly in the past few days. They had been thinking about how to teach him a lesson when he loses. Even some medicine shop shopkeepers who had heard of Shiyu's name did not believe that Shiyu could beat Fairy Jishi at all. Sitting in the tea house and listening to the rumors of the people below, Gu Lufeng couldn't help showing a cold and evil expression after hearing them scolding Shiyu rudely. They only heard about the rumors, but they actually described Shiyu with such vicious words. Damn it! Bai Hu sneered disapprovingly, isn't it good? The less they believe that our young master can win, the more benefits we can get from it. When they lose even their pants, just watch how they cry. The two looked at each other and smiled, both showing a gloomy expression on their faces. After the time of an incense, the two came to the gambling house and found a guy at the gambling house to chat casually. When the guy from the gambling house ran into the house, there was already excitement on his face. In the afternoon, the gambling house listed a bet for the competition in medical skills between Fairy Jishi and Jinling Kingdom Shiyu. When the people who were originally filled with outrage heard that the gambling house had opened a bet for them, they immediately rushed over to bet. In order to show their support for Fairy Jishi, many people even bet all their assets on her. After Li Zhenyu and Shuling got the news that the gambling house had opened a bet, they also bet all their crystal stones and even a few expensive magic weapons. In just a few hours, the original odds of 1:1 suddenly rose to 1:130. Everyone had to pay a certain processing fee to bet. Although this fee was only a small amount of crystal stone, the people betting this time were just too many. In just a few hours before the evening, the gambling house made a huge profit. The owner of the gambling house happily praised the manservant. Too easy for Heshi. Chapter 940. The Light of Hope is for Bai Hu and Gu Lufeng. They had secretly bet all their crystal stones, magic weapons and medicinal pills that they didn't use on Heshi. When they went to bet, the gambling house owner looked at them like they were idiots who came to give away money. After the bet started, although some people bet some crystal stones on Shiyu's side with the idea of looking for opportunities, they mostly bet just a few hundred or a few thousand crystal stones to try their luck. Who would be so stupid like these two to bet tens of millions of crystal stone? Wasn't this an idiot? As for whether they were idiots or not, Gu Lufeng and Bai Hu both had sinister smiles on their faces. The gambling house owner will know the results by tomorrow morning. In a wing room in Yangon City, Master Yuehua was sitting in front of the furnace with a hesitation on his face. After the plague, he cured the people of Yangon City and saved thousands of martial artists in the Zhongming Kingdom, but he suffered from this strange disease because of his experimental medicine. No one knew how obsessed he was with medical skills and how much he wanted to be a pill refiner. However, since the plague more than 10 years ago, he had lost the ability of pill refining. He would never be able to advance in the path of doctor. During this period, Master Yuehua secretly searched for countless ways, hoping to cure his strange disease, but he never did so. Originally, he was almost desperate. Master Yuehua looked down at the pill in his hand and swallowed the pill with determination. As soon as the pill entered his body, he felt a warm current sweeping over his body. When it gathered at his dantian, it jumped slightly as if to appease the injuries in his dantian. The next moment, Master Yuehua opened his eyes abruptly, and the spiritual power ran out from his dantian, condensed to his right hand, and finally burst into flames. Ah! Master Yuehua looked at the spark in his hand with shock and disbelief. I can actually condense spiritual fire again. Does this mean I can refine pill again? Master Yuehua trembled with excitement. He staggered over and took out various herbs from the jade shelf and poured them into the pill furnace. Soon, spiritual fire was also injected into his dantian. Master Yuehua only felt that his heart was beating violently. He was ecstatic while panicking, for fear that this wasn't real but just a dream for him. An entire hour passed, a faint light radiated from the pill furnace. Master Yuehua tremblingly lifted the top cover of the pill furnace. When he saw the round and shiny medicinal pills inside, he couldn't help it anymore. 2 lines of tears streamed down from his eyes. How many years has it been? How many years? I have already given up all hope initially, but now I can actually refine pill again. With trembling fingers, he put the medicinal pill into his mouth. The excitement and sentiment on Master Yuehua's face suddenly turned into surprise. Why I somehow feel that this second-grade spiritual healing pill is much richer and purer than the spiritual power I refined 10 years ago. No, it should be said that this second-grade spirit healing pill is of higher quality and grade than the upper-grade spirit healing pill sold on the market. It's like, right? Just like those upper-grade spirit healing pills sold by Qingxia sect and Shengde Hall. Master Yuehua held the remaining medicinal pills while his body was trembling. His eyes shone with hope. He felt that after he finished refining this furnace of medicinal pills, his dantian had recovered that kind of disorganized state. He could no longer condense the spiritual fire. Chapter 941. All people gamble, but at this time, his dantian was much more comfortable than before taking the medicine. This clearly showed that this kind of medicinal pills was not a one-time effect, but a healing effect on his injury. What if I can always take these medicinal pills? What if I can take a lot of these medicinal pills? Is it possible that my illness can be cured? In the future, I can not only refine pill, but But I can also refine such upper-grade medicinal pills? At the thought of this, Master Yuehua trembled with excitement. He got up quickly and walked out. His steps were messy and hurried. He wanted to immediately go and ask Shi Yu about this medicinal pill and about how to cure his illness completely. As long as he could continue to pill refining and improve his medical skills, he was willing to pay any price. But as soon as Master Yuehua walked out of his yard, he immediately calmed down. Tomorrow Shi Yu will treat the strange illness of Zhuge Xiaotian, and he is in a competition with Fairy Zhishi. How can I bother her in the modern age? Thinking of this, Master Yuehua took a few deep breaths and calmed down slowly. As he was about to walk back, he suddenly heard the chattering of a few manservants and maids not far away. Have you heard of it? The Chang'e gambling house opened a bet between Fairy Zhishi and the kid named Shi Yu. Have you all bet? Who did you bet? Of course, I will bet on Fairy Zhishi. I have bet all my crystal stones and medicinal pills I have earned in the past few years. Although the odds are too low to make a lot of money, it is good to earn some pocket money. Me too. I've seen that kid. Although he looks handsome, he looks only 16 or 17 years old, and his hair is not full. How can he compare with Fairy Zhishi? Although Fairy Zhishi is only 20 years old, she is the daughter of the Doctors Association's president. She learned medical skills since she was in elementary school. How can she be compared? That kid dares to be disrespectful to Fairy Zhishi. I have already discussed with Old Six that when he loses, we must teach him a little lesson. Let him know that our Yangon city is not a small country that they can do whatever they want. Teach him a lesson? Good. Count me in. Master Yuehua frowned deeply as he listened to the conversation of several people. Obviously, Fairy Zhishi and Shi Yu only agreed to treat the young city lord at the same time. When did they say that they would have a bet? Why will it escalate to such a situation? The gambling house even opens a bet? Moreover, do everyone think that Shi Yu will lose? But how can a doctor who can see through my illness at a glance and have a way to refine pill be a simple character? Although Fairy Zhishi is also very good, I feel that Fairy Zhishi cannot be compared with this Shi Yu. After all, even the Doctors Association is helpless with the best quality pill refined by Shi Yu. A person with great medical skills like Shi Yu should be respected and praised by everyone. But now, everyone in Yangon City is slandering him and insulting him. How can this be? Thinking of this, Master Yuehua's heart suddenly surged with excitement and hurriedly left the city lord's mansion. A quarter of an hour later, Master Yuehua appeared in the Chang'e gambling house. Master Yuehua was extremely famous in this Yangon city. When the guy in the gambling house saw him, he immediately welcomed him respectfully. Master Yuehua, why are you visiting our gambling house? We are really flattered. Chapter 942. All bet on Shi Yu. Master Yuehua said straightforwardly, I heard that you open a bet between Fairy Zhishi and Shi Yu? Exactly. The guy at the gambling shop quickly led Master Yuehua to the place where the bet was placed. The place was still full of people at this time, and people kept shouting, I want to bet 8,000 crystal on Fairy Zhishi. Quickly let me bet on Fairy Zhishi. I bet all my money on this. The talisman projection that showed the odds above the betting table was constantly changing at a rapid rate. Fairy Zhishi's winning rate had now exceeded 500. The guy led Master Yuehua all the way through the crowd and brought him to the betting table. He asked eagerly, Master Yuehua, are you here to bet on Fairy Zhishi? How many crystals do you want to bet? I can register for you. No. Master Yuehua shook his head decisively, then he put his storage ring on the betting table. I bet all on Shi Yu. As soon as this statement was made, the Chang'e gambling house was suddenly silent before the betting table. Everyone looked at Master Yuehua with surprised expressions. They were full of disbelief. If the person betting on Shi Yu wins was another unknown person, they would definitely not take it seriously. Instead, they welcomed them very much because this was giving them free money. But what if this person was Master Yuehua? Master Yuehua's reputation in Yangon City was comparable to Fairy Zhishi. How could he bet Shi Yu to win? Did he think Shi Yu's medical skills could be compared to Fairy Zhishi? Master Yuehua didn't say much, put down the storage ring, took the registration-inscribed jade slip, and quickly left the casino. Seeing Master Yuehua leaving, someone couldn't help but said, "Why does Master Yuehua bet Shiyu to win? Is this Shiyu's medical skills really good? Should we bet some on Shiyu?" "What Master Yuehua? Haven't you heard of it? This master hasn't been refining pill and hasn't seen patients for many years. Now, he is just a useless person. It is just that City Lord Zhuge appreciates him, so he can do well in Yangon City. I think he must be crazy to bet on Shiyu. I heard that Shiyu and her patty was recommended by Master Yuehua to the City Lord. I think he is just betting on Shiyu just not to lose face." As soon as these words were said, everyone was suddenly enlightened. Many people were a little bit contemptuous toward Master Yuehua. He actually dares to doubt Fairy Jishi? I think this Master Yuehua is really an old fool. However, some people were still suspicious of Master Yuehua's actions, and some people secretly took back the money bet on Fairy Jishi and bet on Shiyu. But these people were just the minority, so the odds had been stable at 1:500. Until the evening, a young man in green clothes with a grim face came to the betting table of the Chengel gambling house. As soon as he stood still, he immediately took out a row of storage rings, lined them up on the betting table, and said coldly, "I want to bet." The person in charge of the bet glanced at him casually, only to find that this man had a cold aura, but his cultivation was mysterious. He was at least at the gold core stage. He quickly changed his contemptuous expression and said respectfully, "May I ask, who are you betting on?" "All bet on Shiyu." "Another person who bets on Shiyu." The Chengel gambling house suddenly became lively again. Chapter 943, Surprising Odds. Hey, these are 2 extra chapters for achieving Patreon community goals. The person in charge took the storage rings and threw them into the back window to let people count the value of the items in the rings. As the value of the item was calculated, the odds on the projection talisman would also change. It was just that this guy waited for a long time, but the person behind the window never finished calculating the total value. He couldn't help but turn around and urged, "Are you done? Hurry up, there are still many people waiting behind." A trembling voice came from behind, Okay. Then an inscribed jade slip was sent out, and the guy in charge of registering the bet didn't take a closer look and passed it to the man in green clothes. However, before the man in green clothes took it, a fierce exclamation erupted from the crowd behind him, "Odds! The odds! Look at the odds!" Everyone raised their heads when they heard the sound, then they discovered to their horror that the original odds of 1:500 instantly became 1:200. The odds of Chengel gambling house were calculated by combining the number of bets, the amount as well as some evaluations. It was not that the bet amount was huge, then the odds would definitely rise ridiculously. At this time, the original odds of 1:500 suddenly became 1:200. How many crystal stones did this man in green clothes bet on Shiyu? Is he crazy? The man in green clothes didn't care about them at all. He walked straight out of the Chengel gambling house, leaving behind a burst of discussion from the people in the gambling house. Some people were happy when they see the odds were getting lower, which meant that the profit they could get after winning was higher. But some people looked at the sudden change of odds and felt uneasy. They were hesitating whether to bet on Fairy Jishi and split half of the bet to the strange young boy, Shiyu. What if this boy named Shiyu is really good? Outside the Chengel gambling house, Li Zhenyu and Ren Shuling watched the direction the man in green clothes man left and frowned with a sinister expression. Ren Shuling gritted her teeth and said, "Cousin, this man in green clothes is Shiyu's subordinate, right? I saw him before. Do you think they are crazy? Spending so many crystal stones on the bet, they would lose everything if they lose the bet. Or do they really think that kid can beat my senior sister?" Li Zhenyu sneered, "Do you really think the odds are useless? This group of people is sinister and shrewd. Now they do this just to build momentum for the kid Shiyu. Didn't you see that many people start to doubt Jishi because of the change in odd? If Jishi heard it, it may affect her performance tomorrow. In this way, Shiyu will have the opportunity to take advantage of it." In fact, Li Zhenyu also used this method to spread news, slander Shiyu, and make martial artists in Yangon City curse Shiyu. These words would be heard by Shiyu. Even if they couldn't, he would let him hear them during the competition tomorrow. This would naturally disrupt Shiyu. He could do this, but he would never let go of anyone who dared to do this to Jishi. What? So it's like this? Ren Shuling burst into anger hearing that. These people are so insidious and shameless. They actually want to use this method to disturb senior sister so that they can win. And that shit Master Yuehua is really ridiculous. Never mind he brought in the kid, he even bet on him. I don't know why my senior sister still respects him so much. Chapter 944. Why should you care? Hey, these are 2 extra chapters for achieving Patreon community goals. Master Yuehua? Li Zhenyu sneered. What kind of master he is now, don't you know, Shuling? He has been unable to refine pill since more than 10 years ago. His medical skills are even more regressed. I will give him face because of his seniority, but he actually chooses the wrong side, then don't blame me for being impolite. As soon as Ren Shuling heard her cousin's tone, she knew he had another idea. She quickly said with excitement, "Cousin, tell me what idea you have? As long as you can teach those bitches a lesson and let senior sister win, I will do anything for you." Li Zhenyu sneered and whispered in her ear for a while. Ren Shuling's face immediately showed an expression of excitement. The man in green clothes left the Chang'e gambling house all the way back to the Lanxiang courtyard in the city lord's mansion. In the small courtyard on the west side of Lanxiang courtyard, a man in black was looking into the distance with cold eyes. As soon as the man in green clothes saw him, he immediately stepped forward and said, "Master, I have done what you have instructed. I bet all the assets you gave me to Prin. Mr. Shi, now the odds for tomorrow have already dropped from 1:500 to 1:200. Nangong Yu turned around, looked at him, nodded and said, "Okay, don't tell Shir about this." It turned out that the person who had just bet on Shiyu at the Chang'e gambling house was Qing Long. The crystal stones, magic weapons and medicinal pills he bet at the Chang'e casino this time were almost all of Nangong Yu's liquid assets. In other words, Nangong Yu almost bet all his net worth on Heshi. Qing Long thought of the huge number of crystal stones and magic weapons in the storage rings, and his face couldn't help twitching. He whispered, "Master, do you really think Mr. Shi will win tomorrow?" Nangong Yu showed a half-smile on his face. Suddenly, he frowned slightly, and his gaze looked not far away. Lu Jishi, who was wearing green clothes, facing the frost of the evening, was walking out of the house. She met Nangong Yu's gaze, and her eyes moved slightly. She walked forward slowly. Nangong Yu gave her a cold look, then he turned and walked into the house. However, just after taking 2 steps, Lu Jishi suddenly quietly said behind him, "Your Royal Highness King of Hell." Nangong Yu's footsteps paused slightly, then he turned around and looked at her. The cold light in his eyes flickered and disappeared. Lu Jishi was really sure at this moment. This King of Hell Nangong Yu used some kind of means to hide his existence. His face hadn't changed in any way, but people who saw him would think that he was just looking handsome. They wouldn't pay attention to him deeply. Some even ignored his existence completely. Such a mean, in fact, was to use strong spirit pressure to change the aura of one's body and make others have an illusion. It didn't seem to have much power, but it would never be possible without the cultivation of the nascent soul stage or higher. And the man in front of him, who was only 20 years old, which was 2 years younger than her, had reached this level. Lu Jishi took a deep breath and slowly bowed to Nangong Yu, saying, "I have long heard the name of King of Hell. I'm really fortunate to meet you today. May I know what is King of Hell doing in Yangon City?" Nangong Yu looked at her faintly and spoke 4 words coldly, "Why should you care?" As soon as he finished speaking, he turned and walked into the house. Chapter 945. Wait and see. Lu Jishi only felt like her heart was being slammed by something. She gritted her teeth and said, "I heard that your Royal Highness King of Hell is talented, amazing and renowned. I always thought you are a heroic character. However, it turns out that these aren't true." Her words were extremely hostile, but Nangong Yu didn't seem to hear it at all. He completely ignored her and walked in. Lu Jishi continued, Your Royal Highness King of Hell, you asked your subordinates to spend a big bet on Shiyu to increase his odds. What is it for? Do you really think Shiyu can beat me tomorrow? Aren't you doing this to disturb my mood and make me tired of these mundane things so that Shiyu can have a chance to win tomorrow? Even if Shiyu is your best friend, doesn't King of Hell feel that what you did is too much? Even if Shiyu wins tomorrow, it is just an unfair victory. As soon as Lu Zhishi said this, Nangong Yu really stopped. He turned around with a cold gaze, revealing a mocking expression. It could be because of the disappearance of the spirit pressure. At this moment, his face was alluring and handsome under the moonlight. It made those who saw that couldn't help feeling excited. Lu Zhishi was staring at him in a daze. His mocking voice slowly sounded, "Fairy Zhishi, is it? You're really confident. You really think you can win?" Lu Zhishi was taken aback. She almost blurted out, "What did you say?" Nangong Yu sneered, "You asked me why did I bet so many crystal stones? Of course, I want to win the crystal stones. I never think of losing my bet. Does he really think Shiyu can beat me?" This feeling of being underestimated made Lu Zhishi's heart burst into anger. She gritted her teeth and said, "Don't forget, I'm the one who sees the young city lord first. As long as I can cure the young city lord's disease, Shiyu will never have a chance." "Oh, then I'll wait and see." After saying this, Nangong Yu's figure had disappeared behind the curtain. Lu Zhishi stood there quietly for a while, and the moonlight shone on her bright white face as if it was coated with a layer of frost. After a long time, her handmaid Lu Yin hurried over and said, "Miss, why are you standing here alone? Senior Li and Miss Ren came to look for you." Lu Yin walked to Lu Zhishi, but she hadn't responded for a long time. She couldn't help but shout again, "Miss? Miss? What's wrong with you?" Lu Zhishi breathed out slowly, shook her head and said, "It's nothing, let's go back." As soon as Nangong Yu returned to his room from the yard, he saw Hashi, who was leaning at the window and looking at him with a half-smile. Nangong Yu's eyes lit up. He was about to walk up and hug her into his embrace. Hashi turned around like a fish, and she got out of his arms. Then, she turned and wrapped Nangong Yu's hand with natural silk, then she leaned toward him and looked up with a smile. Hashi's smile was gentle. Under the candlelight in the room, it gave people a blood-pumping feeling. Especially the pink and delicate red lips, they were like the stamens blooming slowly in the spring with dewdrops and nectar in them. They were so soft and fragrant, making people want to pick them and chewing them into their stomachs. Chapter 946. If you don't have money, then marry into my family. Nangong Yu always had no resistance toward Hashi. With a sway of his heart, he broke free from the natural silk and wanted to kiss her fiercely. But Hashi grabbed his collar, pulling him closer. She slowly said, "Your Royal Highness King of Hell, are you having a good chat with the beautiful lady?" Nangong Yu was taken aback for a moment, then he couldn't help laughing. "Sheer, are you jealous?" Hashi snorted coldly, "So what if I'm jealous?" Suddenly, she pulled Nangong Yu over with great strength and kissed him lightly. She said solemnly, "Nangong Yu, you belong to me. I don't allow other women to covet you. If you have an affair with other women, I will castrate you and leave far away so that you will never find me." Hearing Hashi's bold declaration, Nangong Yu was not dissatisfied at all. The natural silk in his hand was broken suddenly. He hugged Hashi and said with a hoarse tone, "Little girl, you are really domineering. However, I will only love you in my life." After speaking, he hugged the girl's soft body into his arms and kissed deeply. The more domineering his sheer was, the more she cared about him. This was what he had always dreamed of, how he not be pleased him. When the kiss ended, Hashi only felt that her whole body was soft. Nangong Yu's kisses had always been domineering, hot, and had a strong desire to control, but this time was different. It was so raging and passionate as if to swallow her alive. Hashi leaned in his arms, remembering Nangong Yu's expressions to Lu Zhishi just now in the yard, and a sweet smile appeared on her face. She was indeed jealous just now, but it wasn't that she didn't believe Nangong Yu. She was just displeased that another woman coveted her sweetheart. Nangong Yu hugged her with a fiery body and quick breathing. He could only lower his head and murmur in her ear, "Sheer, when we get back, we will get married immediately, okay? I really can't wait anymore." Heshi's face was red, and her eyes were gleaming. She looked indescribably smart and cunning, sweet and happy. But remembering what she had just heard, she couldn't help laughing at Nangongyu. "Your Royal Highness King of Hell, you bet all your valuables. Are you sure you still have the dowry to marry me?" Nangongyu was taken aback when he heard it. He originally didn't want Heshi to know about this, but he didn't expect to hear it. Then he met the little girl's narrow eyes and couldn't help but laugh. He hugged and kissed her deeply before saying, "Sheer is right, but I bet all on you. If you lose and I don't have money to marry you, I can only marry into your family." Heshi laughed at first, then some kind of brilliance was accumulating in her eyes. She suddenly stretched out her hand to touch Nangongyu's face and whispered, "Nangongyu, are you not afraid that I will lose and you really lose all money? Do you really believe me so much?" Nangongyu held her hand and said almost without hesitation, "Sheer, even if I don't believe in myself, I will believe in you." Heshi was startled slightly, only to feel that her heart was filled with something. "There is a person in this world who believes in me so much, and this person is still my lover. This feeling is really amazing." Chapter 947. "Only you can do," Heshi pursed and said after her mood was stabilized. "But don't forget, the premise of this bet is that it will only be my turn if Lu Jishi can't cure it. If she is cured, then I'm considered lost." After all, there was still a first-come first-serve. Lu Jishi came to the city lord's mansion earlier than she did, and she had been treating Zhuge Xiaotian long ago. Heshi came later, so she should let Lu Jishi finish her treatment first. And this was one of the reasons why the odds of the bet was extremely biased toward Lu Jishi. Nangongyu didn't say anything like he believed in her as before. Instead, he squinted and smiled lightly. "The premise of the bet is indeed like this, but I bet she can't cure it." "Huh." Heshi looked up at Nangongyu in astonishment, and she seemed to perceive something different from his expression. "What do you mean by this? Did you do something?" "Little girl, I trust you so much, but you are suspicious of me." Nangongyu smiled and scratched the tip of her nose, and he said in annoyance, "I didn't do anything, I just learned about the symptoms of the city lord's son in advance." Heshi was startled. The illness of the city lord's son? "In fact, these 2 days, I have thought about understanding the illness first, but since Lu Jishi said that she will treat the young city lord 2 days later, I have never left this Lanxiang courtyard." Immediately, in the early morning, Ren Shuling and Li Zhenyu also ran over, seeming to ridicule and warn her not to leave the yard for help for these 2 days, otherwise it would be considered cheating. Heshi had always been confident in her medical skills. With her current level, the results would still be the same without seeing the situation of the city lord's son in advance. So since Lu Jishi didn't go out and there were warnings from Ren Shuling and Li Zhenyu, she stayed in this yard too. She didn't try to find a way to know about the illness of the city lord's son. Now that Heshi heard Nangongyu's words, she couldn't help showing a look of surprise. Is the illness of this city lord's son really so strange? Nangongyu is so sure that Lu Jishi can't treat it? What kind of illness could it be? Heshi couldn't help but ask her doubts. What kind of illness makes you conclude that Lu Jishi can't cure it? Didn't you say that you don't know Lu Jishi? How can you determine that? Nangongyu shook his head and said, "I don't know how high Lu Jishi's medical skills are. I can only be sure that there has never been such a patient in the history of Miluo continent. Or in other words, no one in this entire continent can treat the disease of the young city lord." As he said, he looked down at Heshi with deep trust in his eyes and an inexplicable meaning. "Sheer, if anyone on this continent can cure this strange disease, I think it's you." Heshi's heart jumped, and she looked straight at Nangongyu's eyes. "What does Nangongyu mean? Did he discover that I'm not from this world?" She gave a low cough and diverted the subject. "What illness is this?" Nangongyu squinted, suddenly stretched out her hand to hug her tightly into his arms, and slowly said, "Sheer, have you ever heard of a monster that comes out at night and likes to suck human blood like a bat?" Heshi raised her head abruptly. This time, her face really showed a shocked expression. "Are you talking about a vampire?" Chapter 948. Come to watch the show on the second day. The entire Lanxiang courtyard was the focus of everyone in Yangon City. However, Lanxiang courtyard was in the city lord's mansion after all, so even if others wanted to come in and watch the treatment of Fairy Jixi and Shiyu, they couldn't watch it. However, when Heshi woke up in the morning, she still found that the entire yard was quite lively. Not to mention that many of the manservants and maids of the city lord's mansion were secretly watching outside the courtyard. There were more people in this courtyard now. Heshi discovered that most of the people in the yard were old men with white beards and hair. Most of their cultivation bases were not high, but they all had gentle spiritual power. She also saw Master Yuehua in the crowd. Master Yuehua looked up at her and immediately walked forward respectfully and said, "Mr. Shi, I have taken the medicinal pill you gave the day before. May I ask what kind of pill is that? How can it?" Heshi smiled slightly, flipped her wrist, and a bottle of medicinal pills appeared in her hand. The third-grade flame spirit pills, plus the total of 10 from yesterday, is 1 million crystal stones. Thank you. Master Yuehua's eyes widened. He said tremblingly, "This is a flame spirit pill? A third-grade flame spirit pill can cure my disease? Is this the power of the best quality pill?" Heshi said faintly, "These flame spirit pills can remove the cold and dampness in your dantian, allowing you to reconsolidate the spiritual fire, but if you want to completely eradicate the hidden illness from your body, I still have to give you some treatment afterward." "Thank you, miracle healer Shi." Master Yuehua excitedly took the flame spirit pill. As he was about to take out his crystal stones from the storage device to pay Heshi, he suddenly said with shame, "Mr. Shi, sorry, all of my crystal stones are bet in the Chengel gambling house, and I can't get that much money for a while. Wait for me. I will borrow crystal stones from the city lord and then pay you." Heshi raised her eyebrows and said, "Master Yuehua also bet?" Master Yuehua blushed and nodded, "I bet Mr. Shi to win." Heshi couldn't help but smile. "Oh, then you don't need to borrow money from the city lord. When I win, you can repay me after getting your crystal stones." Listening to her confident words, Master Yuehua was stunned for a while, not knowing what to say. Heshi couldn't help but point to the elders and said, "Master Yuehua, who are these people?" "Oh, these people were also doctors who came to treat the young city lord before, but they were helpless against young city lord's illness, so after Fairy Jixi came, they left one after another. It's just..." Master Yuehua's voice paused slightly, and he glanced at Heshi's face before continuing. "It's just that they heard the news that Mr. and Fairy Jixi are having a competition in Yangon City, so they all come back. They want to see how the strange illness is cured." Heshi chuckled. "Oh, aren't there too many people who get the news?" Gu Lufeng, by the side, heard Heshi's words and stepped forward and whispered, "Shiyu, these people were actually found by the man surnamed Li. The man surnamed Li and Ren Shuling have been spreading news about you in Yangon City for the past few days. They said that you want to provoke Fairy Jixi to get fame from the people. Most of the people in Yangon City hate you now, but they can't enter the city lord's mansion, but these doctors who had treated the young city lord before can come in." Chapter 949. Kind and Naive. Oh, Psychological Warfare. Heshi nodded clearly, but she immediately threw a glance at Gu Lufeng again. "However, things are so heated, you and Bai who are indispensable to contribute to the flames, right?" Gu Lufeng laughed and slowly said, "She really knows everything." "That's right. Since Li Zhenyu had spiced up the matter, if we don't take advantage of it and make a big profit, aren't you being scolded for nothing?" Heshi raised her eyebrows. "Aren't you afraid that I will lose all our money?" The money that Gu Lufeng bet naturally included in Heshi's share. Now Gu Lufeng was equivalent to her CEO. All assets and industries under Shiyu's name were managed by Gu Lufeng. Gu Lufeng was just like Nan Gongyu this time. He almost bet all the liquid funds. If he really loses all money, Zhou Yanan and Shisan would have nagged him to death. Gu Lufeng didn't care about what Heshi said. He smiled faintly. "Shiyu, I know your medical skills better than anyone else, so I naturally trust you 100%. If I really lose, it can only be because I'm unlucky. I will admit that if that's the case." Hashi smiled and cursed. What can you admit? Most of them are my assets. Gu Lufeng nodded solemnly. So Shiyu, you won't lose, will you? As the two were chatting happily, there was a commotion from the crowd. Those doctors rushed in the direction of the east wing. Lu Jishi walking out of the house slowly in a green gauze skirt with a beautiful face and a cold expression. Behind her was Lu Yin, the maid in green, Li Zhenyu and Ren Shuling. When the doctors saw Lu Jishi, they all bowed to her. Lu Jishi also politely responded to these people. Jishi is young and inexperienced, so I still have a lot to learn from the seniors in medical skills. I also hope that the seniors can give me some advice. Her modesty and politeness made these doctors feel good about her immediately. However, there were also some elderly doctors who came here today, just because they were interested in the treatment of the strange disease of the city lord's son. So after a few words of greeting, they immediately looked at Lu Jishi excitedly. Fairy Jishi, I heard that you already have a way to treat the young city lord's strange disease. What it is? Can you tell us? Before Lu Jishi had spoken, Ren Shuling had already said in displease, why my senior sister wants to tell you her secret? You guys actually want to steal her secret? As soon as these words came out, the old doctor who asked suddenly flushed red and lowered his head embarrassingly. Lu Jishi quickly reprimanded, Shuling, don't talk nonsense. Dr. Qin has a high reputation and has been a sixth-rank physician for more than 10 years. He has more experience and knowledge than me. Why will he do such things? She looked at the old doctor gently and said in a soft tone, Doctor Chen, if you want to know the cure for that strange disease, it's not impossible. Before she finished her words, Li Zhenyu hurriedly stepped forward and interrupted her. Jishi, why are you always so kind and naive? He sighed lightly and looked in the direction of Heshi. His eyes were full of contempt before he slowly said, Jishi, even if Dr. Chen is not the kind of shameless person who will steal your secret, it doesn't mean that others won't. Don't forget, you have a competition against Smion today. If you tell Dr. Chen about the treatment and someone steals it, then she will be the person with superb medical skills. How can that happen? Chapter 950. I'm fine with it. The doctors couldn't help but glance at Heshi with disgust and contempt on their faces. Some people just don't know when to step down. Fairy Jishi said that she has a cure. He was not reconciled and even proposed a competition. I think he just wants to follow Fairy Jishi to get the benefits. When Fairy Jishi cures the illness, he will say that he is also using the same method. Isn't that he won't lose no matter how? Another doctor also said, Such a shameless person is also worthy of being called a doctor? I think he forced Fairy Jishi to have a competition with him because he wants to get fame by using Fairy Jishi's name. See, who doesn't know about Shiyu now? Lu Jishi heard the discussion from the crowd and couldn't help but sigh softly. Please don't say that to Mr. Shi. His medical skills are really good. Especially when it comes to using poison, Jishi admits that I'm not as good as Mr. Shi. Use poison? The doctors present showed shocked and angry expressions. A doctor actually practices in using poison. No wonder he is so unscrupulous. Such a scum should not have the qualifications to practice medicine. I heard that he doesn't have a grade at all. He can't even be called a doctor. I think he drags Fairy Jishi in because he wants to enter the Doctors Association through Fairy Jishi, right? This kind of behavior is simply too outrageous. Why would the city lord let this kind of person to treat his son? I heard that it was Master Yuehua who invited him. Master Yuehua is getting old and confused nowadays. The doctors discussed on their own while looking at Hishi like she was a pile of garbage. In ancient times, the people had the problem of looking down on other people, so did the doctors here. Most of those who could become the fourth-rank doctor or above only studied in medical knowledge and had simple minds, so their expressions of emotions were extremely intense. Some people even wanted to call someone to drive Hishi and her party out. Master Yuehua's face was extremely ugly. Many of the fellow doctors not only glared at Hishi after whispering, they were also pointing at him. Those people looked at him with sympathy and ridicule, which gave him a bad premonition. At this time, Lu Jishi spoke again. As for the treatment of young city lord, Jishi does not mean to hide it. If you all don't mind, when Jishi is treating young city lord, you all can watch it by the side. When the time comes, everyone will naturally see how Jishi treats. But, she paused, looked to Heshi and said gently, but this is after all me and Mr. Shi doing treatment. If Mr. Shi doesn't want outsiders to see, then Jishi can only say sorry to all doctors. Those doctors were all taken aback, and Dr. Chen reacted first. He looked at Heshi with scorching eyes and said loudly, "Little boy, you will not disagree, will you?" Heshi saw Dr. Chen's anxious expression and couldn't help but want to laugh. Seeing Dr. Chen, she felt like she had seen her crazy master. It was the kind of obsessed with one thing, and they would forget about everything else. It was just that her master was obsessed with wine, and Dr. Chen was obsessed with medical knowledge. Heshi nodded and said, "I'm fine with it." Chapter 951. First come first serve. Dr. Chen's eyes lit up, and a childlike smile appeared on his face. "Okay. But what are we waiting for? Let's go to the young city lord for immediate treatment." "Wait." As soon as Dr. Chen finished speaking, Li Zhenyu, who was standing next to Lu Jishi, suddenly stepped forward and said, "Before that, I have to confirm one thing." As he said, he looked at Heshi with a cold gaze and said coldly, "Mr. Shi, Jishi will start the treatment first. Do you have no objection to this?" Heshi narrowed her eyes slightly and said slowly, "I have no objection." A sneer flashed in Li Zhenyu's eyes and continued, "Since Jishi starts first, if Jishi cures the young city lord, I don't know how to determine the win and lose." After a pause, he said again, "Why not we do this? When Jishi is treating, Mr. Shi will be waiting by the side. After Jishi treatment is over, you can tell your treatment plan. If your treatment plan is the same as Jishi's treatment, we count you as winning. Jishi, what do you think?" Lu Jishi nodded without hesitation. She said in a gentle voice, "Zhenyu's suggestion is very good. I feel ashamed just because I have the advantage of treating first." She said. She looked at Heshi and said, "Mr. Shi, if your treatment plan is the same as Jishi, then we will consider you win. We will also announce this to the people of Yangon City. It will be fair to you too. What do you think?" When the doctors heard Lu Jishi's words, they immediately admired her even more. With such moral character and self-confidence, it was no wonder Fairy Jishi had such a strong reputation in Miluo continent. Just when everyone thought Heshi would be grateful and happily agree to this condition, Heshi shook her head and said, "No need. Win is win, lose is lose. First come first serve is also one of the conditions for competition. Oh, if Fairy Jishi still thinks that this time we are treating young city lord as a competition." When Lu Jishi heard her, she met her half-smile eyes scanning at Li Zhenyu and Ren Shuling, and her face changed slightly, but she recollected herself in a short time. Heshi continued, "As long as Fairy Jishi cures the young city lord's disease first, I lose. Whether it is the outcome of the Chengalfang gambling house or the final announcement to the people of Chang'an City, they will base on this results." But Lu Jishi wanted to say something, but Ren Shuling spoke before her. "Haha, senior sister, since she is looking for death, why are you still nice to her? Just wait until you cure the young city lord, she will taste the loss that she seeks for herself." Li Zhenyu also showed a satisfied look on his face and nodded. "Jishi, Shuling is right. Since this is what Mr. Shi requested, why should we force her? I said that just to make sure you admit the order of first come first serve. Although if Jishi cures the disease first, Shi will automatically lose. But if this kid doesn't admit defeat and try to ruin Jishi's reputation by saying it is unfair? So I called in all the doctors and used words to force Shiyu to admit the treatment sequence. Even if Shiyu loses and wants to renege in the future, with these doctors as witnesses, this kid won't be able to stir up any troubles." Chapter 952. Symptom. While several people were talking, they saw Zhuge Feng hurriedly coming from outside the courtyard. At this time, Zhuge Feng was a little sweaty, and his eyes were full of anxiety. When he saw Lu Jishi and Heshi, he hurriedly stepped forward. "Greetings to two doctors." Ren Shuling took a step forward and said, "Uncle Zhuge, Didn't you say that Brother Xiaotian will be sent to Lanxiang courtyard today for my senior sister to be treated? Where is he? Zhuge Feng wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, Fairy Zhishi, I was planning to transfer my son here with a black cloth litter to let 2 doctors treat him. But this morning, my son's illness is acting again. I really can't move him. Lu Zhishi had seen Zhuge Xiaoyan's illness, and she immediately nodded, anywhere can do the treatment, I will follow City Lord Zhuge to the young City Lord's residence. Mr. Shi, how about you? He naturally wouldn't disagree. For her, where to see a doctor is not the same. It was just that she just agreed, then she saw Lu Zhishi's flickering eyes, and Ren Shuling on the side showed a look of gloating. Zhuge Feng was overjoyed when the two agreed. The doctors in Lanxiang courtyard also wanted to follow. They couldn't wait to see how Fairy Zhishi treat this strange disease. However, Zhuge Feng showed an embarrassed expression on his face. Doctors, the situation of my son is really horrifying, it's better to wait here for a while. These doctors had treated Zhuge Xiaotian, but most of them were treating when Zhuge Xiaoyan's condition was fairly stable. Many doctors had never seen Zhuge Xiaoyan's real illness. Of course, doctors such as Dr. Qin, who was highly respected and had excellent medical skills, in order to give better treatment, had already seen this symptom a long time ago. Dr. Qin would not be scared, but it did not mean that other doctors would not be scared. Especially, Zhuge Feng couldn't help but glance at He, who seemed to be only 16. Will he faint when seeing Xiaoyan's current condition? Seeing that all doctors must go with him, Zhuge Feng had no choice but to agree. Along the way, Zhuge Feng did not conceal his son's symptoms and told Lu Zhishi and He in detail. In fact, Xiaotian has been a little different from other babies from the time he was born. He often bites his nanny when he drinks milk. When he gets older, he even bites when he catches people, and sometimes he even drinks human blood. But this situation disappeared after he grew up to cultivate. I also forgot about these symptoms of his childhood. Until one time he went to a secret realm to practice, the same thing happened again. Zhuge Feng frowned, his face full of pain and self-blame. When Xiaotian came back from the beginning, he often felt uncomfortable when he saw the sun. He likes to stay indoors and he likes to eat raw fish. When he eats meat, his eyes are bloodshot. I even urged him to quickly cultivate so that he can get to the perfect stage of the meridian stage as soon as possible. But one night, Xiaotian, who was originally meditating in the room, suddenly rushed out with a scream. He grabbed a wind spirit rabbit raised in the yard, bit it, and drank its blood. But he still didn't get enough, he even bit the servant, /. Chapter 953, Strange Scene, he seems to have gone crazy. When going out in daytime, he even struggles and rolls on the ground wanting to scratch off his skin. The more Zhuge Feng said, the more solemn his painful expression became. At this time, I knew that Xiaotian should have been seriously ill. But in the past 6 months, I have searched for all the doctors. No one can cure this disease. If I can discover it earlier and let Master Yuehua treat him sooner, maybe he won't. Zhuge Feng closed his eyes and took a deep breath before continuing. In desperation, I had to keep Xiaotian in the dark basement and let people collect fresh blood for him to drink every day. But last month, I found that his demand for blood is increasing, and he often can only drink the fresh blood just got from the beast. Even if it is delayed for a while, it is difficult for him to eat. If this continues, he may not live long. As Zhuge Feng, his eyes were slightly red. He gritted his teeth and said, "What's more, Shaon had been proud of himself since he was a child. Now he could only feed on fresh blood and live under the basement. He is now more and more decadent now. He doesn't want to live anymore. Fairy Zhishi, miracle healer Shi." Zhuge Feng bowed deeply to the two of them. "Please save my son." While listening to what Zhuge Feng said, Lu Zhishi showed a thoughtful expression on her face. Ren Shuling couldn't help but approached her and whispered, "Senior sister, do you know what this disease is?" Lu Zhishi smiled and nodded, and she responded in a low voice. "In fact, when I treated Zhuge Xiaotian last time, I was already suspicious. Now, after hearing City Master Zhuge say it in detail, I'm more confident in it. Last time, it was only a rough exploration. This time, I still need a careful examination before I can determine the treatment. Ren Shuling was overjoyed when she heard the words, and she said happily, City Lord Zhuge, don't worry, my senior sister already knew about Brother Xiaoyan's illness in her heart, and she has a treatment plan. A few days later, Brother Xiaoyan will naturally be cured. As she said, she glanced at Heshi contemptuously. She sneered, unlike some people who don't know anything and dare to pretend to be a doctor. Pooey! Let's see how she pretends when she is exposed. When Zhuge Feng heard Ren Shuling say that Lu Jishi did have a cure, he was overjoyed. His attitude toward Lu Jishi became more ardent, and he forgot about Shiyu. Although Shiyu was somewhat famous, he was only a 16-year-old boy if he really had the ability to treat strange diseases. Several people quickly came down to an underground secret room under the lead of Zhuge Feng. The secret room was very luxurious. The furnishings in the room were comfortable and beautiful. The only drawback was that the whole room was a bit dim. The lighting equipment used was not the popular crystal stone of Miluo continent, but a dim candle. As soon as they entered the secret room, everyone found a strange sight. All the guard servants here are wearing a layer of hard and heavy armor from head to toe. Bai Hu couldn't help but yelled, "This is obviously the city lord's home, not on the battlefield. Why do these people still wear heavy armor? Will someone come to assassinate this young city lord?" You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.